for VA disability compensation exams. VA cannot make a decision on a veteran's claim until all development is completed. Although I hear from veterans about how frustrating the wait is for a decision to be made, many times VA effort to obtain records and/or exams leads to an award for disability compensation. On the other hand, overdevelopment is when VA takes unnecessary steps to obtain records or exams. Example, if existing documents in the veteran's claims file are sufficient to support the claim, VA should not schedule a government-funded disability exam. Overdevelopment forces veterans to wait longer than necessary for a decision on their claims and can lead to incorrect decisions. Unnecessary exams also waste veterans' time and money. Further, if a veteran misses a VA scheduled exam without good cause and they do not reschedule, VA automatically denies the veteran's claim even when it was unnecessary for VA to schedule the exam in the first place. H.R. 2137, the Review Every Veterans Claims Act, will absolutely fix this injustice. Overdevelopment also drives government waste because VA pays contracted exam vendors for every exam, even those that were not necessary. In fiscal year 2023, about 2.4 million exams were completed, a number that rose to approximately 3.2 million in fiscal year 24. Contracted exam vendors were paid nearly 95% of those exams. In December 2024 report, the VA Office of Inspector General, the IG, found that VA spent about $1.4 million on unnecessary exams from April through September 2023. The total amount of wasted taxpayer dollars each fiscal year is likely much higher. The OIG review did not cover the full fiscal year or examine all types of claims of decisions, both approvals and denials. We have heard from OIG and the VA employees that overdevelopment mistakes are due to an inadequate training, claims processors, as well as confusing and inconsistent guidance. To address overdevelopment, VA created an overdevelopment reduction task force. This task force recommended dozens of actions, including targeted quality reviews, updating policy guidance, and increased training. I look forward to hearing from VA today on the progress made in implementing the task force's recommendations. Particularly, I'm interested in whether the VA has implemented a plan to evaluate the effectiveness of its efforts using clear, result-driven metrics for success. And I would like to hear about any efforts VA is undertaking to further enhance its strategies to decrease overdevelopment. Finally, I look forward to discussing whether VA will implement technology to ensure that every claims processor who overdevelops a claim learns from that mistake. The National Work Queue, also known as NWQ, electronically distributed the majority of VA claims workloads across all regional offices. The National Work Queue has largely decreased decision wait times, thankfully. A key feature of the National Work Queue is that when a claims processor defers a claim for development, it's returned to the National Work Queue. The National Work Queue often then routes the claim to a different claims processor at another regional office for additional action. We have heard about cases where one claims processor after another claims processor makes the same overdevelopment error in the same veteran's claim. These repeated mistakes are so-called avoidable deferrals, have resulted in months or years-long delays for veterans even before a claims processor realizes that the development efforts were unnecessary. The current system only notifies the most recent claims processor, to my understanding, that they committed an overdevelopment error. All of the other previous claims processors who committed the same mistake in the same claim are actually never notified. That's what we need clarification on, and therefore do not learn from that specific mistake. November 2024 letter, then Undersecretary for Benefits Dr. Josh Jacobs informed me that there are no technological barriers preventing VA from notifying all claims processors who have made the same overdevelopment mistake in a single claim. Mr. Jacobs told me the VA would conduct a pilot study to determine the value of additional functionality. I look forward to hearing about the study progress and any findings under the current administration. Every veteran and survivor deserves a timely decision on their claim. Decisions wait times will decrease if we can reduce or eliminate overdevelopment. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses today about VA's efforts to do so. I now yield to the ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here today. You all have heard me say this a million times. I'm going to say it a million more times. Everything we do on this subcommittee is on behalf of our veterans. Everything. It's to serve our veterans. And today, that means making sure that the VA systems used to process disability claims for our veterans work the best they can. It also means equipping and empowering the employees who serve the veterans. We need them to be able to do their best work without unnecessary limits or undermining their importance to the system. Unfortunately, this administration continues to spread the false message that VA employees are not dedicated to their mission, that they don't have the veterans' best interest at heart. There's an email from OPM that castigated all federal workers as, quote, low productivity. It's simply not true. It's also hurtful. It hurts morale at the VA, which ultimately affects the job performance, which hurts our veterans, which is what we are focused on in this committee, helping our veterans. The Veterans Board of Appeals employees, the VBA employees like those in my regional office in Louisville, Kentucky, are highly dedicated to their mission. Many are veterans themselves, and they go to work every day in a stressful, high-pressure environment and work as hard as they can on behalf of the veterans they both serve and sometimes served with. But they are in systems where they're forced to work in, and the systems fail. They're not given adequate training. They're subject to arbitrary performance metrics and sometimes arbitrary discipline, and now even unnecessary insults. All of that makes it more difficult for them to do their job, which of course ultimately makes it more difficult to serve our veterans. So I'm interested today in exploring ways that we can improve outcomes for veterans by making the job of these dedicated VBA employees easier. The administration's recent decision to end collective bargaining agreements with the unions representing these employees, it's a serious mistake. I think it's going to harm both the employees at the VBA and the veterans they serve. That's really important. I think it's going to have an adverse impact on our veterans because the unions are crucial to creating a workplace that helps employees perform their best, delivering better results for our veterans. They help employees feel more invested in their work, and they offer better chances for mentorship and personal growth. The public sector unions play an important role in creating a higher quality training for their members and providing important feedback to management and policymakers about what's actually happening on the ground in the organization. This means better retention rates. It means lower wait time for benefits, and ultimately better service for our veterans. And contrary to belief, public sector unions do not stand in the way of dismissing bad employees. In fact, they often facilitate it. It's in their best interest to make sure that all employees are doing their job well. Public sector unions do, however, make sure an employee's dismissal is justified, orderly, and most importantly, legal. So I'm hopeful today that the Secretary will listen to this committee and request an exemption from Trump's executive order, because these employees deserve all the rights afforded to them under law and the Constitution to best fulfill their mission and, of course, deliver the best possible service and results for our veterans. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. McGarvey. Our lead witness from VA is Mr. Kenneth Smith, Assistant Deputy Undersecretary for Field Operations, as well as the Acting Executive Director for Education Services for the Veterans Benefits Administration. Mr. Smith is joined by Mr. James Smith, Deputy Executive Director for Policy and Procedures. You guys related? Just checking. Procedures and Compensation Service. Sorry, man, I lost myself. I'm sorry. For the Veterans Benefits Administration. Mr. Smith is also joined by Mr. Robert Orifici. Got it. We've been together long enough. Executive Director for Benefits and Memorial Services for VA Office of Information and Technology. Today's witness panel also includes Mr. James Schwartz, sir, who is the President of Local 2823 in the American Federation of Government Employees. I asked that the witnesses on our panel please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you, and let the record reflect that the witnesses have answered in the affirmative. Mr. Smith, you're now recognized for 5 minutes to deliver. Mr. James Smith, you're now recognized. What's that? I'm sorry, Mr. Kenneth Smith, you're going to start us off with the Smiths. You're now recognized for 5 minutes to deliver your opening statement on behalf of the department.
Good afternoon, Chairman Luttrell, Ranking Member McGarvey, and members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss VA's efforts to increase efficiency in processing veterans' disability compensation claims through the National Work Queue and improvements brought by the Overdevelopment Reduction Task Force. Joining me today are James Smith, Deputy Executive Director for Compensation Service, and Robert Orifici, Elected Portfolio Director for Benefits Appeals and Memorial Services, Office of Information and Technology. The Veterans Benefits Administration has undertaken substantial efforts to enhance training and quality review programs by focusing on high standards of performance and continuous learning opportunities for VA staff. Today, I will highlight 3 specific ways VA is better supporting our employees and veterans. The first improvement is enhancing the exam scheduling assistant, which helps employees correctly determine if an exam or medical opinion is necessary. Originally launched in 2023, this tool was refreshed last year through the most recent work of the Overdevelopment Reduction Task Force. Exam errors specific to overdevelopment have been one of the top categories of error and delay, resulting in avoidable deferrals and rework. Recent enhancements increased the tool's use by 48% and contributes to a reduction in monthly errors cited for exam overdevelopment. In fiscal year 25 to date, these errors have decreased by 7% over fiscal year 24. VBA will integrate this tool into the Veterans Benefits Management System, which we expect to launch in fiscal year 26. The second improvement involves training strategy. In June 2024, VBA launched interactive, hands-on learning modules and updated training content, including comprehensive lessons on requesting exams. These efforts reinforce concepts through interactive activities, ongoing assessments to gauge mastery of the content, remedial training, and follow-up assessments for those who need additional repetition. As recommended by a recent OIG audit, VA added PACT Act-specific related medical opinion requirements to all training products, ensuring employees are well-trained to address common disabilities. During VBA's quality stand-down on March 20th of this year, claims processors were provided additional training and live instructor engagement activities focused on ordering exams and medical opinions. Third, VBA and the Office of Information Technology are developing a solution to complete claims actions correctly the first time through improvements to the Veterans Benefits Management System. This upgraded functionality is being designed as an error check for the employee, providing real-time feedback on potential errors before the claim is recalled to the National Work Queue. This effort is aimed at reducing instances of misdevelopment while improving first-touch efficiency and reducing avoidable deferrals. This functional enhancement is currently in development and is planned for initial testing beginning in fiscal year 26. On the topic of avoidable deferrals, VA has recently completed preliminary data analysis for a pilot study. This study aims to develop a reporting solution for employees to receive feedback on any claim they touch that resulted in an avoidable deferral. I look forward to providing results to the committee on this study and its impact on training and mentoring. VA is also working on additional improvements to the National Work Queue to support improved timeliness through better workload management. These include advanced data analytics and predictive modeling to prioritize claims in near real time and distribute claims based on complexity, urgency, and employees' skill and experience to speed up the claims process. These improvements will also allow employees to request additional work in real time directly from the work queue and promote supervisory focus on coaching and quality. Together, these upgrades ensure claims are handled by the most suitable staff, leading to a faster decision and continued reduction of the claims backlog and higher quality decisions for veterans. This project is estimated for completion in fiscal year 26. VBA remains committed to delivering the highest standard of service to our nation's veterans, their families, and survivors. While significant progress has been made, we recognize the need for continuous improvement and adapting to evolved needs of those we serve. Thank you for continued support and collaboration as we honor our veteran sacrifices. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my statement. My colleagues and I are ready to answer any questions you or other members of the subcommittee may have.
The written statement of Mr. Smith will be entered into the hearing record. Mr. Swartz, you're now recognized for 5 minutes, sir.
Chairman Latrell, Ranking Member McGarvey, and members of the committee. On behalf of AFGE and MVAC, I appreciate the opportunity to testify today. My name is James Swartz, and I am president of AFGE Local 2823, representing the Cleveland, Ohio Regional Office. I am a U.S. Army service-connected veteran, and I have the privilege of continuing to serve my fellow veterans, first as an RN at the Cleveland VA, and then in VBA for the last 23 years. On behalf of over 320,000 VA employees, AFGE represents, including thousands of claims processors. It is a privilege to offer AFGE's views on the National Work Queue, training, and how VBA can enable employees to more efficiently and effectively process veterans and the beneficiaries' claims. VA should modify the National Work Queue so that a claim remains within the same regional office for the duration of its processing. Variations between regional offices can cause claims processors from different ROs to misunderstand each other's work, resulting in a correct claim being unnecessarily deferred or delayed. Furthermore, by keeping a claim in a single regional office, managers have more control to send claims back to the original VSR who worked on it. This would allow the VSR to learn from this error and not repeat it. This would also let the VSR and RVSR, who are already familiar with the claim, to efficiently address follow-up work, saving other employees from wasting time to familiarize themselves with a new claim. If VBA, despite record production and quality from employees while working from home during COVID-19 pandemic, is going to require claims processors to report to the regional office, why continue to shuffle work throughout the country and not instead leverage employee ability to collaborate with the colleagues sitting next to them? As Congressman Self asked about the last time I testified, despite the claims backlog, one of the most consistent complaints from the claims processors is they don't have enough work to meet their performance metrics and must waste time asking for more work. The reason for this problem is the internal controls VBA has put on the National Work Queue. To address this, AFGE recommends, first, the National Work Queue should automatically provide claims to individual claims processors' work queue when they are out of cases to develop or rate. Second, claims processors should have a limited ability to temporarily hold on to the claim before it is retracted by the National Work Queue. Having the claim stay within one regional office for its duration would avoid delays and give ROs more control over their workload. It would also allow secondary claims to be associated with the primary claim and worked on simultaneously. Third, the National Work Queue must better filter automatic ready-to-rate claims, ensuring employees do not waste time on cases that are not ready to rate. Fourth, VBA should program the National Work Queue so employees who have previously worked on a claim have the claims returned to them. This would allow claims processors to learn from any mistakes that were previously made and improve efficiency and quality. New employees don't understand the claims process or VA lingo that is critical for employees to do their job. This is an easy problem to fix. All training should require hands-on experience using the tools employees will actually use. Training must also focus on mastering the basics, including learning the claims process, VBA terminology, and what a claim looks like. AFGE urges VBA to reorder its curriculum to allow instructors to reference the material that was just taught, reinforce the concept, and use this to teach higher level concepts. VBA must also improve PACT Act training, as TMS self-reviewed courses are ineffective, especially considering constant updates to the SOP and manuals that are not reflected in the training. Finally, on behalf of AFGE and NVAC, partners who have long worked with this committee to help improve the VA and its delivery of benefits and health care to our nation's heroes, I respectfully urge you to ask Secretary Collins to use the authority granted to him by President Trump's executive order to certify VA employees, including the employees under the jurisdiction of the subcommittee, at the Veterans Benefit Administration, National Cemetery Administration, and the Board of Veteran Appeals, are not involved in national security and are in turn exempt from the executive order. The rights guaranteed in our collective bargaining agreement are critical to our ability to support the VA's mission and better serve veterans and their families. VBA is two generations of employees, both the mentors with institutional memory who are close to retirement and the next generation who are just beginning their journey of caring for veterans. Within 5 to 10 years, this knowledge will be lost forever if there are no exemptions made, combined with the proposed RIFs. AFGE and NVAC stand ready to work with the House VA Committee and VBA to address these issues. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
The written statement of Mr. Schwartz will be entered into the hearing record. We'll now move to questioning. Mr. Smith, Kenneth Smith. Mr. Schwartz seems like he nailed it right on the head. Now, this is kind of the conversation you and I have been having for the past couple of years. Can we have a, not totally granular, but dive into the National Work Queue 2.0? You mentioned first touch efficiency. I think that's brilliant. And then what Mr. Schwartz said, how a specific claim will return to a particular VSO before it is, so it can be completed or repopulated into the work queue and then out to another regional office.
Thank you for the question. So we are working on new capability to focus on direct feedback to employees at the development action. This is a solution that we've been thinking carefully about since our conversations over the last year and a half. And the idea here is to provide an error check right after they've completed their actions and before it returns to the National Work Queue to prevent delay on that claim. This is part of an interactive discussion between my VBA and the Office of Information and Technology, who's working on that solution right now.
As we're doing our best to inform anyone that they've made a mistake from the top down, what are we doing from the bottom up as far as training and readiness is going so the mistake window is closed?
Yes, I mean, we've completely revamped our training. Mr. Smith and his team have been working diligently on that to build in more training about exams to make sure that we order the right exams the first time and not overdevelop. It's been added into all of our existing training products as well as our most recent quality stand down, where we took our entire workforce offline for a day to focus on specific training needs.
Mr. Schwartz mentioned that some of the VA employees are saying there's not enough work for them, which I find that, I've heard that myself from VA employees, but I'd like to hear your response. And you're going to get into the National Work Queue thing. I got it, all right? However, if we do have certain employees at regional offices say there's nothing here for me, we have a miss somewhere.
Yes, sir. There are 918,000 veterans waiting for decisions in the National Work Queue right now.
Is that number's down?
It is. Since over the last year, we've dropped it almost 6%.
6%? Mm-hmm. Okay.
But the very fact that we don't have any work, there are two potential reasons for that I can understand. One is it's hasn't been assigned to the employee, or they've depleted all the work in their queue. That's why we want to be able to allow them to pull claims in when they're ready, and then have the National Work Queue push claims to them that is matched to their experience and training. So newer employees that are trained on a smaller subset of disabilities or types of claims get disability claims that they can work until they're fully trained and able to do all of them. And more experienced staff can handle the more complex claims.
So I understand this correctly. Now a claim will move from the National Work Queue into a regional area. A VA employee will be able to pull that claim without having a supervisor load up their desktop, more or less, and the supervisor providing, I guess, oversight and training, but an employee can move as much as possible, but I'm sure there's a baseline somewhere. It's like, hey, look, your minimum is this, weekly, monthly.
My expectation, and this is still, we're still working on the exact development and solution with Mr. Urfesy's staff, but the concept that we're operating under is that we will be able to distribute enough claims every day prospectively to keep people busy, but then if they actually run out because things are not ready for them, that they'll be able to request additional work.
I know we don't have a stat yet on, I'm going to walk that one back. I don't have to think about that one for a second. Sir, Ranking Member, I'll yield to you for your questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here. Mr. Schwartz, I want to dig in a little bit about the recent executive order and the collective bargaining agreement that AFGE negotiated with VA. Aside from just being a gross breach of good faith. It also has some very real practical and detrimental consequences on the day-to-day work of those who are involved in processing claims. And again, that means our veterans, because anything that harms our frontline employees' ability to do their job, by definition, harms their ability to serve the veterans who are at the heart of VA's mission, who are at the heart of the mission of this committee. So, Mr. Schwartz, ask you some questions. To your knowledge, has the Secretary submitted a request for an exemption to the collective bargaining EO for VBA employees? No, sir. Thank you. And Mr. Schwartz, can the union members at VA collectively bargain for wages or promotions?
No, sir. That's banned by law, I believe.
Can the union collectively bargain for performance standards surrounding either quality or timeliness of claims processing?
No, sir.
When was the last time the union workers at VA went on strike?
Never. It's against the law.
Perfect. Can the union collectively bargain for more or better training?
No, sir, but I do believe that's where the union would be very beneficial for both the employees, the VBA or VA, and also for the veterans. Most of us are workers ourselves. We are aware of what's going on. We do the work. We talk to the first line employees, and often they will come to us and let us know what their training needs are. Many of them are afraid to actually go to managers or supervisors, and we've even worked with a lot of supervisors when employees are running into trouble so that we can work with the employees to get them where they need to be.
So what would you say is the biggest impediment to frontline employees operating more efficiently and with higher quality, and how do you think AFGE can help remedy that?
The number one issue would have to be training, and that's where the VA would be, or I'm sorry, the union would be able to work with the VA in order to establish what training is needed and to help the employees be able to get these training needs met when it becomes an issue before it becomes a problem.
And just looking at this, how does the lack of a union with collective bargaining rights impact the ability of frontline employees to do their job well and better serve veterans?
I'd say one of the biggest things is probably have to do with moral. The moral impact that it would have, the employees will no longer have a voice. They will no longer feel comfortable or competent to be able to go to the agency and discuss what their training needs are, or discuss even what some of the roadblocks are in the way of them performing the mission.
And is VBA planning to consult frontline employees in the development of new technology modules?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And what about the training content?
Again, not that I'm aware of. I've been fortunate enough at, I hate to say it, at my regional office, but I have been able to work with management to get employees some of the additional training necessary.
And for Mr. Kenneth Smith, I'll just ask you those exact same questions. Is VBA planning to consult frontline employees in development of new technology or training modules?
Usually, management develops the solutions, and then we brief the union when it's time to implement.
I would just suggest from being in the private sector and other things, getting the input from the people who are actually doing the work on the ground before you develop the training is a best practice. What about the training content? Any of the same thing?
I believe that and I'll ask Mr. Smith to weigh in on this, but I believe there are union members on the training team.
That's correct. Not only are they on the training team, they develop the content, and then also SMEs from the field, more often than not, are labor BUEs. They're actually the ones providing the training.
Again, we want the best training. We want the best employees. This is what helps our veterans. Thank you guys so much. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Smith, did the Overdevelopment Reduction Task Force, was that disbanded last year?
I wouldn't say disbanded, sir. It completed work at the end of July. We're working right now on some additional initiatives, such as we are collaborating with the Board of Veterans Appeals and Office of General Counsel, to take a look at end-to-end automation and process and procedural efficiencies.
Did it perform its functionality as it should have? It seemed like that was a pretty short window.
Yes, sir. They made more than 50 manual updates to streamline and clarify guidance, as well as promoted and executed some enhancements to the exam scheduling assistant to make it a little better for
And
employees.
that's on board and running?
It is up and running, but it's a standalone tool, and what we're doing right now is building that into VBMS so that the claims processors don't have to leave the VBMS environment to use it.
Besides updating the VBA manual on March 10th, what else is the VA doing to ensure claims processors understand the long-standing rules for when to schedule an exam?
That's core to our training. All of our training content reinforces the requirements for training for ordering exams and medical opinions. We've done that through our overdevelopment reduction task force. Those recommendations reinforce that, leading to a 7% decrease in overdevelopment errors.
You mentioned 7% reduction off of the gross number. What's projection for this year? And did we break a record last year, or last year, in February for disability claims?
Yes, we completed more than 1 million claims earlier this year than ever before.
Job well done.
Thank you.
I will share that with everybody I know. How are we looking for, what month is it? April, May, June, what's projection downstream?
Right now we're running 8.5% ahead of where we were this time last year. So we're looking to complete more than 2.5 million claims this year.
What's our total that are outstanding? I mean, eventually I would assume we're gonna run out of veterans.
Well,
If we're working at this rate, it seems like. I probably shouldn't say it like that. I got 40,000 veterans who kicked my butt for saying that. I didn't mean that in a bad way. What I meant was, for the record, what I meant was eventually all our veterans will be whole.
Yep, we continue to receive about 10,000 new claims a day. Our inventory right now is 918,000. We've been fortunate with some high productivity. We've been completing somewhere between right around 11,000 claims a day to help us decrease the inventory and get ahead of the backlog as well.
Okay, great, outstanding. Before I move on, Mr. Smith, do you have anything you would like to add? So I'd hate for you to come all the way. We are having markup in multiple committees currently today. Obviously, that's why the ranking member are the only ones here. But Mr. Smith, I'm not gonna let you come all the way to DC and not say anything.
No, I appreciate the opportunity. I'd like to circle back to the overdevelopment task force. In addition to what Mr. Smith shared, some of the feedback, not only from our partners across the different business lines, but our SMEs from the field to include bargaining unit employees, was that the class size was too large. So we shrunk the class size. We focused on 4 phases of a training process: planning, design, development, implementation, evaluation, or the Kilpatrick model. We are focused on making data-driven decisions and updates to the training based on feedback, the assessments that the employees complete themselves, as well as data that has gleaned from quality reviews. So we're committed to continuous process improvement with the goal of putting veterans first in every decision made.
Mr. Rifsey?
Thank you for the opportunity. We are extremely excited about the work that we're doing in support of VBA and claims process. We're utilizing a lot of the current technologies, including AI, to help us get ahead of the claims process.
Are you where you need to be, or is the VA where they need to be in the AI space, since it's forever changing? I would recommend you keep us very well read on if we're slowing, so we can get ahead of it.
No, we're definitely leaning into it. We're utilizing it to its most. We're very excited about the interactive assist that we have for claims, with helping them to avoid deferrals and help them make the right decisions. This will also tie back into ordering the right exams when they're needed and not ordering exams when they're not. And so we have a lot of very interesting pilots coming up that we're working with VBA on that should yield a lot of benefits when it comes to making the right decision the first time versus having to defer back to correct later on.
Okay, thank you. There will always be something that populates. There will always be a problem set that exists. The VA is such a wonderful working machine, right? I mean, I say that wholeheartedly. It has its problems. It does. And we should forever be changing in order to keep up with the wants and needs of our veteran space. Because as we move into, as our older generations, you know, we're moving into the younger generations. Our generation of warfighters are coming into the VA. And there's a lot of us. And then, you know, it pains me to say this, but we are always on the threshold of activation again. And if we do have to go to another theater of war, we will populate more and more and more of us. And the VA, as hard as we work, we'll always have to work harder every single day. Because every day, I'm sure you do the same thing. Every day I wake up and I walk into the bed, I look in the mirror, I was like, it's not about me, it's about everybody I represent. And guess what, gentlemen? You represent the most cherished asset we have, and that is our veterans that allowed us to do the things that we do today, okay? Ranking Member, you got any closing remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I echo those remarks. I thank you for your service, and thank you all for the service you perform, particularly on behalf of our veterans, the men and women who are putting on a uniform, willing to sacrifice everything to keep us safe and keep us free. And what I'm going to ask you all to do is on this committee, we actually do our best to work together because we understand the mission of this committee is to serve our veterans. You know, make sure you got the best management, make sure you got the best labor, and that everybody's getting the training they need, and that everybody has access to the tools they need, and the morale they need, the retention that we need to keep people there to keep these claims going forward, because that's what's going to help our veterans out. And so hope you all can continue to do that good work, because it's gonna take care of the men and women who took care of us. Mr. Chairman, I please ask unanimous consent to enter into the record the following letter: Secretary Collins, from Rep. Takano, yourself, Senator Blumenthal, and 126 other members of the House and Senate condemning the Trump administration's decision to obviate the collective bargaining agreements, bargaining rights of federal employees, and urging the Secretary to request a waiver from those requirements. Thank you.
Without objection. Thank you again, gentlemen, for coming today. I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous material. Without objections, so ordered. This hearing is adjourned.